I mean, I assume a lot of people can tell last year, just from looking from the outside in, that it was very serious. It was a very serious team with high expectations too. So it's kind of like the recipe for disaster when you don't meet those expectations.
Hey guys, this is Pedro back with another interview covering VCT Americas KICKOFF 2025 during the media day phase. I'm here accompanied this time by Ethan of NRG, looking to start off the year on a right note and continue the momentum from there. So, Ethan, thank you so much for giving me a chance to start off this year with an interview. New you, new team, new version of the team, and I'll say also new look. And so, look good on the look, but I want to ask you just sort of the rest of the other things that I've mentioned there. How have you guys kind of been spending this entire off season? You know, now with the slate of games wrapped up, and now you guys are only preparing for the start of VCT again.
Yeah. So I guess from the start, right before Sun City, um, we only had maybe like a week of practice, not even before that. So showed showed pretty good, like a pretty good base layer of how our team would go with a little practice. So that was good to get some early reps under our belt. And then between that and Korea, practiced a lot, and I think it showed in Korea. We did pretty well. Added some depth to our game, and more importantly, got a good reps against international teams, which was cool. Um, but between the end of Korea and now, um, we're still waiting for one of our players to get a visa to come to the U.S. So not all five are in person, but we have been practicing remotely for a couple days now, um, and we'll ramp it up once he gets here until our match versus C9.
Well, I mean, hopefully, I guess like, what's the confidence level that the other player um can make it in time before the start of the season?
He'll get it for sure. He'll be here for sure. It's just a matter of when we can get practice all five of us together. Uh, so we'll see.
Is it like Psalm? Is it
No, it's Mata because he's from Canada, so it's
okay?
not like a huge thing. It's just a timing thing.
Okay. Okay, I definitely understand that. Yeah, like now I kind of want to focus on just sort of well, kind of sticking into the off season, but more so in relation to what it was in the 2024 season. I mean, it's fair to say that 2024 wasn't the best of years for yourself and also the rest of NRG. We saw plenty of roster changes, plenty of like stylistic changes, gameplay changes and all that stuff, and having to see a spectacular, I would say, disappointment at the very end of the year, losing to Cloud9. And so obviously changes was made from that point up until this point with players that you mentioned, Mata and Verno coming in for Crashies and Victor. I want to ask you just sort of two-parter question. Now that we kind of like had some time to reflect on the season that was, what do you feel? Just sort of what's the, I would say, like the biggest factor that played into the failure of 2024, and also on top of that, with Verno and Mata in, how do they kind of compare to Victor and Crashies?
I'll answer your first question. So just like what happened last year, like the main contributing factor. There was a lot, so I'm not gonna go into like specifics, but it's definitely like definitely a team chemistry thing or like a team culture thing. Um, it was very just I guess like monotonous every day. There wasn't much of like a team culture. Not much excitement or I guess like passion to be there was like a big thing, and it kind of spreads. Um, so not much fun. Just in general, not much fun. Just doing what we should have fun doing, which is competing. So that was a big thing. But this year that definitely changed. We got a lot of new pieces that contribute to that a lot. Um, especially with Mado and Verno coming in. Um, they're very enjoyable to be around, so that's a big thing, especially in practice. And since we started so early too, um, I think that was a big thing in 2024 also. We didn't really get a lot of time preseason to prep anything. Now we have a lot of time. So that's a very helpful. And then Bonkar coming in for the coach slot contributes to the team culture a lot. Um, and he's great with the players too. So that's a really helpful thing for me coming from other teams.
You mentioned a little bit right there at the very end of your answer, Bonkar getting into the head coaching role. I mean, he kind of came in alongside Verno from Oxygen, which was, last year was one of the best teams in North American Tier 2. And so I want to
Mm.
ask you about him in particular. How does he contrast to what you had from Chet in terms of like coaching and coaching philosophy, coaching tactics and stuff like that?
Uh, I mean, I think one of his strong suits is just like being able to enable specifically Verno because he's played with him before for a long time. So he knows obviously how to make him the most comfortable, which is very important for a new player coming into his first VCT team. So that was a big plus, and also just um, he also helps every other player too. It's not just Verno, so he helps everyone, and he knows how to create. Um, he definitely has how can I say this? He definitely has like a picture of the team he wants in his head and how he wants to run it, which gives us confidence both in him and our team. So that's a big thing too. He's just very confident in the way he wants to run the team.
I feel like the biggest difference when it comes to looking at the creation of the environment for 2025 NRG is the culture and like having the right mindset. Do you feel that that's kind of like the main improvement or the one thing that was addressed the most on besides just sort of focusing on the game?
Yeah, I think that was a big thing. A lot of I mean, I assume a lot of people can tell last year, just from looking from the outside in, that it was very serious. It was a very serious team with high expectations too. So it's kind of like the recipe for disaster when you don't meet those expectations. Um, so with this team, um, I mean, I've played with John, or I've played with FNS and Sam before. Um, so there's chemistry there, and then Mata coming in with Verno, they just fit right in. So it's very easy, thankfully, and yeah, it helps. It helps. Culture helps a lot. It helps a lot more than people think. When you have a cultureless team and you're just there to play, and there's not really many friendships or not much team cohesion or chemistry, it's that's like a whole different part of the game that just makes it so much harder. So I'm grateful that it's good right now.
Moving over to a different topic as it relates to the game now. I mean, we see plenty of changes into the meta. I mean, when is it isn't, this kind of stuff happens all the time for VCT, but nevertheless, focusing on this occasion, we see the return of Fracture and Lotus and also the inclusion of Tejo on the map. So two-part question right here. First off, your thoughts on the agent Tejo. Do you feel like it's going to be one that it'll be very present in the meta, and also on top of that, the return of Fracture. I mean, obviously, as a member of the 2023 EG, I gotta ask you the obligatory. What are your thoughts on that map returning?
Yeah, I'll answer your Tejo question. First, I think um, I've had a little bit of playtime with it in like a scrim environment, in a team environment, and a good amount in ranked. It's usually all the new agents are pretty good in ranked because you see their best. They look their best in ranked. I think just because like the rounds are really fast paced. So these agents with like delay abilities and stuff like that, they just look really good because these rounds are just like there's one step to the round, so they end pretty quickly. Once you get into a scrim environment with teams that actually know what they're doing, it shows the weaknesses of the agents. And I think Teo could be good on some maps, but Teo being classed as an initiator, um, like you kind of have to find or like decide whether the replacement is worth it or not for the other initiators, because all the other initiators, most of them are so strong for the meta right now. It's like, is it even worth replacing? So that's my thoughts on Teo. For your fracture question, yeah, definitely excited for fracture. Nothing changed on the map, thankfully. So um, I still remember a lot on that and like kind of why we were good. So hopefully I was able to translate that to my team. Um, and we'll definitely innovate too. It's not just a copy and paste. our team has a different play style than the EG team in 23. So it's gotta figure out how to make it work. But I'm excited.
And for sure, definitely looking to try to match what we saw out of EG for this NRG squad. One more question before I wrap it up. Before I get the pings to wrap up. Obviously, you kind of mentioned it earlier on in the conversation about sort of the expectations for NRG. Specifically on last year because of the fact, well, despite having so little time to prepare during the offseason, having actual reps in like in events and matches, still you guys had the expectations and the pressure to do well with a star stack team. Obviously, that didn't work out. So you guys made it a point to change things up and have enough time to practice and also be at your right form before the start of the actual season. So and as a result of that, it's kind of like similar to just you guys having a lot of expectations, but there's like actual credence to that, I would say. So what I asked to you, Ethan, is what are your thoughts on just the expectations this go around for this year?
Yeah, I think you put it a good way. I think it's like actually uh maybe warranted this time for team expectations rather than just players, right? I think in 24 there were a lot of player expectations because we picked up big names um or previous accolades from previous players individually was a big thing, but now not too much of that, especially with the new guys. But they definitely showed both early on in the team and also on an international type stage, kind of like what they can provide to the team. So there's expectations for that. Um, but no, we're feeling good. I think we talked about it. Both I think everyone on the team, but especially like me, John, and Sam. We were just like, yeah, we've never had a preseason like this before, where you actually like play an offline tournament or off-season tournaments and like put in a lot of practice time before the season starts, and we're just like wondering why we've never done this before because we've just gotten that much from it. So it's uh it's definitely it was eye opening for sure.
I guess it's now time to finally win titles and just win, right? But
Yeah,
finally it's time to win.
for sure. That's the plan.
All right, then, and we'll see if the plan actually does turn into or does bear fruit once the season does kick off. There you go. There's the pun. Ethan, thank you so much for the conversation, for the interview. Really do appreciate it. Hopefully, I can talk to you more again later on down the line. And of course, best of luck goes to you, the rest of the team, for this event.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you.